that was missed. So doing a quick review for today, introductions of self as new volunteer Tennessee staff to support this committee, and then moving on to expectations, what you all hope from me, and then to touch on whatever projects you all have been working on already. And then I'm hoping to give a quick fill-in on the corporate social purpose project that I spoke with Andre and Nancy about that this committee will take lead on. So rolling back to expectations.
I guess I'll start since I have been on this committee the longest and have been participating in the calls with Gordon, who Gordon has left Volunteer Tennessee and has gone elsewhere. Okay, that's what I thought. And this is how we normally have done it: is Gordon would pull together a call prior to the quarterly board meeting, and then we would go through the plan and kind of see where we were at in terms of progress. And I think that's about the extent of it. Kind of just get ourselves familiarized with where we currently stand so that we were prepared for the next board meeting. Not a lot of communication in between that. And I unfortunately have not been keeping up as well with the spreadsheet and in terms of our goals and where we're at, just because I've been just very overloaded with work. And so I try and just bring myself up to date by having these conversations each quarter. And I apologize for that. But yeah, that's kind of the extent of where we're at. And Doodle Poll is the way in which we find out when's a good day to meet. And then outside of that, if anybody else wanted to add anything that's participated in the calls, Jim or Amy. I know, Jim, you've been on some of these calls a little more frequently. And Kim.
Well, that is definitely something I'm familiar with the grants committee. Not much communication going in between coordinating meetings. Definitely can utilize Doodle Poll. What we did do with the grants committee is move over items to OneDrive, so that way everyone has access to it. That way you can check, the document, the annual responsibility document, without me having to send it out to you all, and we can just keep a live document that everyone can update on their own. So if there's no dissent there, then I will make a strategic partnerships committee folder that houses the state plan, and then also the annual plan for this committee, and then also whatever other stuff we throw in there that might be pertinent to these meetings. If that sounds good, I'll include that in the next email. Also, my dream, my world would be to actually have meetings scheduled a year out in advance. I think that didn't necessarily work out for some of our grants committee members, but if that does work out for folks here, and actually I'm thinking about it, Kim, that might not work out for you, but if we could potentially schedule out 2 meetings-ish in advance, that would be awesome. But if that's not the preference, then gosh, we'll leave that behind. But that is something I was hoping to talk about later. Identifying a September date, and then, sometime later this year, getting out a Doodle Poll or something to identify quarterly meeting times for 2025.
I think that's always really helpful for the group. I mean, I don't always get to decide when I'm available or not, but when I do, I can work around. I'm just not a great place to start if you're looking for dates.
Noted. Thanks, Ken.
Can I also ask, I mean, I love the idea of OneDrive, but will people outside of the state system be able to access it? They can?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to make sure the email that you all are going to use is the email you give me. And then, I mean, you could always give me a billion emails and I could just put those up there. That is a good question. So I, based on my understanding, just to like confirm I understand the needs of the group, coordinate meetings and doodle full works, and we'll house stuff on OneDrive. So if your preferred email is not the one I've been using to communicate with you, then definitely send that my way because I will make that happen as soon as possible. Any other things that I should know? I'm assuming all committees meet quarterly, and so that's been the continued preference. Like I know Nancy, Andrea, you and Andrea shared that you all don't necessarily meet each quarter. That was a question comment. I don't know.
I'm sorry, it cut out on me. Could you repeat that
Yeah.
statement?
Just confirming that quarterly meetings is what you all prefer or do not prefer to meet that once a quarter.
That seemed to work well for me. I don't know about the others on the committee, but it's nice to have it in front of the quarterly board meeting that we have just to refresh ourselves on exactly where we stand and where we should be headed.
Okay, so another disclaimer, this isn't great for us. I just got back into the office today and do not have access to the H drive. So I cannot pull up the annual plan. But again, that will go into the OneDrive. If possible, could we kind of talk through what responsibilities this group has opted into? And like maybe track like where we are with getting to whatever resolution or successful completion.
I can probably, I'm not sure if I have access to that spreadsheet, but I could not tell you off the top of my head. But I know on that spreadsheet, we have we have initials next to certain responsibilities within the plan for this committee. And without that, I'm a little lost.
Noted. I am trying to get it right now, so we can move on to something else while I try to get access to that. Give me a minute, please. I'm just going to send an email over to my colleague.
And Latifa, if you, I mean, I can open it if you can't get access to it.
Yes, please do. I did not even come to mind to ask you. Thank you. And Andrea has, okay. Andrea won't be able to make it, but she sends hellos.
So it is up on the screen. That's, let's see. That's probably about as, well, that's probably about as big as I can make it and still have kind of the critical stuff on the screen.
Perfect. Thanks, Jen.
That works. I can see most of it.
And of course I can scroll down. The stuff that's off to the right is more of like the outcome stuff. But the inputs, the activities, and the outputs are all visible or should be visible on the screen.
Thanks, Jen. Do you know if you have completed your plan or if you're still working on it? Maybe that, I don't know who might have been at that last meeting.
Sorry, I'm going to take a quick scroll through it. It looks like it looks like it looks like it's filled out. There's not anything that's left in italics. So it looks like the committee at least got through looking at it and assigning roles and responsibilities and that kind of thing. It looks like, well, I mean, there's some dates that look like they potentially still need to be assigned. Yeah, the things in yellow, I think, are things that haven't been done yet. And so there's some dates that need to be assigned. Looks like maybe there's some inputs that are missing. I mean, that's not terribly critical, but some of those are missing. But it looks like mainly dates are still need to be updated.
Okie dokie. Thanks, Jem. Okay, action item for me. So I actually took a look at this when I initially spoke with Andrea and Nancy, and that has been at least a month. So I'm going to do a deep dive on this. In the meantime, are there things that folks are actively working on? And this says, like, some of it says just generally the commission or the committee. Would it make sense to individually assign things? Identify as 2 new funding sources. So I'm assuming, like, for number 2, the idea was that we come together in these settings and then discuss to identify at least 2 new funding sources for Volunteer Tennessee, or is that like separate work?
I can say for myself, I am not actively working on any of these things, and it might be best for me to go back and review. I know that I have touched on a few things. Whether or not they're completed is another story. So it's going to take, it's going to take me going back through this.
Okay.
And reviewing that, maybe with Andrea. I don't think we stepped through it point by point.
Okay. Thanks, Nancy. Yeah, that's be helpful. So I guess I'll look. So and let me know if this doesn't make sense for you all. But in my mind, for this moment, what might make the most sense is to look at when things are due, to assess if we've done it, where we are in the process. And I'm assuming based off of response or lack thereof, that we are still in working to identify those new funding sources, and no lead person is working on that. That's something that has to be figured out by this group. That's my understanding of that. Okay, cool. Understand that. Set up the Survey Monkey to Volunteer Training staff. I'll work on that. I'll get this Survey Monkey together. I'll talk with Nancy. Seems like Andrea, the best person to touch base with on what exactly the context is around this. And I think that we could still get that done. Not I think, we could definitely get it done by August 11th. So we are on par to get that done. Sponsorship levels. Does this committee communicate or meet with ever the, I'm forgetting the one that Candace leads, that usually is over GVSA related items and conference related items? I'm forgetting their term, but do you all ever meet with them?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the Foundations of Service Committee. Typically, the committees don't have joint committee meetings. I mean, there have been a couple of those during in-person meetings when folks are discussing kind of similar things, but for the most parts, they just kind of meet separately. But that's not to say that they can't have a joint teams meeting.
Okay, that is helpful. Just trying to understand, so I see we are talking about sponsorship levels here. Is it for the commission or this committee to identify these partners to potentially do sponsorships and then to discuss what the sponsorship levels will be?
I don't know if we've ever had that discussion. It may be what we agreed to do, but I don't think we've addressed that.
Okay. Is ever, I know that, OMG, I know that how many members are not here? I know one that I'm forgetting her name right now, unfortunately. But
Um, Katie is not here, Andrea, and then I don't know, there are two other folks that I know are part of this committee that I unfortunately cannot put my finger on their name.
yeah, I should know that and can easily access that. Okay. So maybe to roll back, what would be good for me is to just kind of get a good understanding of what everyone's personal commitment is to the work for this particular committee. That way, when I go back and review and I have my questions stuff, I can more easily like target questions to specific people. Maybe if there's like a particular interest, like reaching out to people, creating things, what you've done in the past. Maybe we could kind of talk about those things so I can have a better understanding of the team and what folks want to do, can do.
I think I found the guy Facebook as well, and
I can't hear whoever that is.
No, I think that was just background me. Yeah.
Talking.
As my significant other, and it's picking up on that, so I'm trying to keep my mic off.
Okay. Okay. Great. Okay. Well, I am obviously going to need to sit on this a little bit more, and maybe we could do individual calls if that could work better, just like to assess like where everyone's at. I'm going to go ahead and move over to another topic. Actually, no, let's stay on here. Jim, could you roll down a little bit? Okay. Thank you. For the first two, I have a good understanding of what I can do to help get those resolved. The first two items, obviously coordinating meetings, and then that survey to touch base with more to get from Andre and Nancy for context. But those two seem like completely doable, very doable. Video interviews at GVSA. So, what was what's the context behind this? Is it an idea? Would this committee be leading the videos with the communications committee?
Jim, do you have any input on that? I mean,
I'm sorry, which one are you talking about?
All right, this would be number 3.
The video interviews?
yeah.
So I don't remember the discussions around that. But I think it was supposed to be kind of in collaboration with the communications committee, but they're not listed here. But also just a note, this didn't happen because it was set to be, sorry, let me change the view so that the so that page thing isn't showing up there. All right, that's now going to mess everything up in terms of the. Okay, sorry. Took me a second to get back to where we were before. So this was supposed to have happened in February prior to the previous GVSA conference. But as far as I know, this didn't happen. I don't think we engaged Ms. Tennessee volunteer to do these questions. I mean, that doesn't mean that the committee can't pursue this for the next one coming up this upcoming year. Because I mean, it seems like it's still a good idea, but as far as I know, this didn't actually happen. But I think it would make sense to loop the communications committee in on this this goal.
Okay. Yeah, love this idea. I also agree, loop in the communications committee, and I guess I propose that, because I'm assuming this doesn't roll over into 2025, for us to include, as in include the language for working with the communications committee on this, and or potentially moving this over completely to the communications team. This was very communications heavy, even though obviously that like external partnership is obviously underneath the strategic partnerships committee role. But I guess that wasn't a full proposal. So should we keep this here and obviously like change the date? This would be for upcoming 2025, loop in communications committee, see what they think, or suggest to the communications committee to take on this work completely, are the two things I'm thinking.
Well, in terms of the timing, if the committee wants to either keep this or try and pass it over to the communications, I think it would make sense to do it this in 2024, because these plans run on a calendar year. And if we wait to add it into the calendar, into the plan for next year, it'll be too late. Because the kind of the planning for this needs to happen, because the next GVSA is what, February it's right before President's Day again, February the 16th, and then the conference is the 17th and 18th. So really, it probably needs, I mean, a little bit more planning than to just tackle it in January.
Agreed.
I haven't seen the agenda for our upcoming meeting yet, but maybe there could be a little, you all could get with communications if we can split up, if we have any crossover, and see what you want to do.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I will ask Hope. Jim, do you know if the communications committee, they've already met for this quarter?
Hold on just a second. I think they're scheduled to meet next week, maybe.
The 11th. It looks like the 11th.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Amy. Yeah, the well, that might be the grants. Yeah, that might be the
grants. Sorry,
grants committee. Yeah, no, the communications is on the 12th. Yeah, so the next day.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. What I'll do, team, is communicate with Hope, who's the lead for that committee. Chat with her what she thinks about this. If they should take it over, she'll propose it to their crew. If I should be there, and then I'll let Andrea, Nancy, let you all know. Well, it's on the 12th, and so I'll send that to you if you can make it. If it makes sense for you to be there, which I will confirm in the next day or two. If you can make it, because I know that is like 2 seconds away. All right. No strong feelings on this point, though. I see. 4 points. So number 4. This is a lot of communication stuff. Encourage community emergency preparedness. So what was the expectation here for 4.1 through 4 from this committee? Like, what would be the role here? Is it to get the information to Volunteer Tennessee staff? Again, I might need a little bit more context because this feels very communications heavy. At least number 1 does. 4.1, encourage community emergency preparedness, provide training to commission members. Incorrect. I was incorrect, but I thought that was a
So we did talk about potentially doing this in either a Zoom webinar type of thing, or we talked about maybe doing it as during our retreat. That's the last I know that was discussed.
Okay. And what's the expectation for the committee as in responsibility? Is this to identify the partner, the vendor, and then to have them be at that meeting?
I couldn't say what the plan, I mean, who was launching this and how they were doing it. I can't speak to that. I don't know, Jim, did you have any intel on that, or Nancy, anybody?
Yeah, I'm not sure this was assigned to this staff or not. I don't know if this is everything, because it just says VT staff off to the side. And I'm not recalling that we took any kind of lead on this particular section of it. And I don't know if this is our plan. And these are the things that we agreed to, but I think when it says SPC, those are things that we've agreed to assist with. And I don't see our name. I don't see the committee's name on it down in that section in that 4.
Yeah, well, so, and I think it's so, I don't recall specifically either, but everything in column A and B, well, and C and D, are things that the individual committees develop. So at some point, you all developed these things, because what we have in the state plan is over here in terms of this output of establishing this disaster volunteer support initiative, and then the corresponding well, conduct work between meetings. Sorry, let me just look. Okay, yeah, so this is your routine part, which might have some overlap with the state plan part of the plan, because there is a disaster preparedness and response section in the state plan section, and maybe this just got put in the wrong place, because the stuff that's over to the left is about a corporate social purpose network. So maybe that's what happened. Maybe this stuff actually should be, instead of being in the routine stuff. And again, the routine stuff is stuff that the committee will do every year, regardless of what's in the state plan. Because the state plan changes once every 3 years, we get a completely new state plan. It looks like maybe this stuff probably needs to go down below into the state plan section, which again, there's a section specifically about disaster preparedness and response. And it looks like what should be here in this should be more related to the corporate social purpose network. But I think I think that would probably, Latifa, maybe the two of us can kind of dive into that a little bit more and look and see if it makes sense to move this. But the stuff over to the right, ideally you'd have someone assigned for each individual thing, instead of like generically assigning all of these things to one person or one group of people. So like up here, there's a couple of different people or groups assigned to various things. So that would kind of be ideal for each of these, like 4.1, 4.2. So I'm not clear if this VT staff and by May meeting, if that was applying to all of these or just to this 4.3. But I'm not really sure, because I honestly, I don't remember what the committee discussed related to that.
Thanks, Jen.
Yeah.
Could you do me a favor and just like put all of that in red? It does look, I think that what you're assuming is, it feels that way. It's for the state plan.
Well, I tell you what, I'm gonna highlight it in yellow, because there are other things that are highlighted in yellow because they need to be changed or edited. And so I think that's just to keep it consistent in terms of designating something that needs more work.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, wonderful. Then on that note, it looks like the committee has identified these outlets on the side to be like the major ways of connecting with strategic partnerships via Volunteer Tennessee. So newsletter and website. I guess maybe we could spend, if it makes sense, I definitely want to take some time to talk about corporate social purpose, which is wonderfully next on the line. But if we could spend like a little bit of time there, but I think, yes, actually reviewing the rest of this would be good. So if we could move down, thanks, Jen. And then we'll come back to 4.1 through B, A through C. If we could just go down a little bit more, Jim, unless that's the end of it. Okay.
That's the end of the routine. The next page starts the state plan part.
Okay. So we have about 23 minutes left. I want to talk about the work that we're doing for corporate social purpose, get your thoughts on that, potentially like talk about ways that the committee will lead on things and support in other areas. So newsletter website. It's here because the committee decided that that is a good way to get out information, to identify partnerships, to grow partnerships. Does it make sense to kind of brainstorm on this right now to like get something tangible next step going for integrating something into the newsletter or the website around strategic partnerships? Maybe that's something y'all have already talked about.
I don't think that's something we've talked about, and I guess I'm just a little confused with the way this is all lining up and what we've agreed to in terms of the recurring things. And maybe I didn't understand that these were the things that are happening on a more regular basis. Although, yeah, I guess the video recordings of those folks at the service awards at the conference could just be something that we would want to do every year, and that's just something that we've included in there to do each and every year. But yeah, I guess when I look at this, I don't necessarily, I guess I get down to the heart of it, which is these other items, which is more the yearly plan.
Okay. Is there something that you're recalling, Nancy, that we might need to get on this list? And I know a lot is just like looking unfamiliar, but outside of that, is there some stuff that you remember being there?
Honestly, I do not. I would have to go back and look at some of the notes that I had taken on some of these spreadsheets in past meetings. It's good that you're recording this because at least we can go back to but go back to this and then recall discussions that we've all had. But yeah, no, I don't.
Latifa, were there any notes that Gordon kept or anybody kept in addition to what's on this document? Were there any notes about follow-up or anything, other detail?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I have not seen them in our drive, and the one note taking house would have been this document, at least the most important things. So not that I know of. And Andrea and Nancy, I don't know if you all have notes that you could send my way, but nope, I have not seen those on my
I was thinking when we did those meetings, I think Gordon was updating it.
Yeah.
Because I certainly did not, and I had my own notes, and I don't even know if I've saved any of that information because we just underwent a big move and I went on a shredding frenzy. So,
Well, yeah, I think Nancy's right. I think Gordon was making the edits directly in this document. So I think this document probably reflects the last discussion. It's just, unfortunately, it's not really clear what some of it. So Latifa, what I know it's means some additional time on your part, but you might want to go back and listen to strategic partnerships last meeting, which is on March 20th. There's a recording of that, which is on our website. So fortunately, that was recorded. I don't think, because we just started recording committee meetings within the last few months. So I don't think we have any prior committee meetings recorded, but that one for sure is recorded. And it might be a little helpful in terms of listening to that and comparing to this document.
Yes, that would be very helpful. Okay, I will do that. So I will review this video and then also this plan and send out an email. Give us time. You all know that we're short staffed right now. But we'll send out an email, I think, with next steps. Maybe it'll be individual communication so we can figure out what everyone is hoping for based on whatever thoughts I share after I review this. I do think just based off of today's conversation that I might benefit from a review of the committee's goals and establishing some objectives. Yeah, I think that would be really good for me. Let me know your thoughts on that very disjointed note if you have any, but that's what I'm thinking my next steps will be.
Do you want to take a quick look at the state plan while we're here?
That is up to you all. I definitely think that we should touch base on the Corporate Social Purpose Network. But we are here, and why not? Jim, would you be willing to open that up again?
Yeah, it's already on the screen.
It's actually, I'm not seeing it on my end anymore.
Oh, sorry. For some reason, I must have stopped sharing my screen. Sorry about that. Let's see. Okay, so should be up now, I think.
Okay, yes. And the first thing is committee time. This is the state plan. So
yes. That's in the inputs section is committee time. But the activities is kind of the meat of what the committee was planning to do. And it looks like there's plenty of notation here about things. I mean, there are some dates that are in highlight. So it looks like there was maybe some still ambiguity of dates, but there's people assigned to do different things here.
Based off of, so I don't see anyone listed. Nancy, update Tennessee serves. I guess we could just go through this list really quickly. Are there any updates on your end for updating Tennessee serves navigation, check-in with Hope?
So that was supposed to happen last September, and I had some personal issues come up, and the meeting that Hope and I put together never happened. And so I don't know if she moved forward with anything, but we were going to step through the Tennessee Serves volunteer management portal and review that and then make some suggestions as far as changes. And so we never loop back with one another.
Gotcha. Looking at the time, I think if anyone has any updates here that, this is the time to share them. Otherwise, I think I will review this separately. It looks like there's a lot of past due dates that we might have met, but I'm not sure based off of this document. So if anyone has any updates for things that you were assigned to for the annual plan, please do share and we'll try to find it on here.
For the folks who weren't aware, I mean, Tennessee Serves got up and running, and there have been some challenges with just navigating volunteer opportunities. So it was just, this committee was taking another look And, Hope might be involved too, but taking another look at how to make it easier to navigate for volunteers and for nonprofits.
Hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm still willing to sit down with Hope, because we use State Parks uses the same system. And so, not to say that ours is in better shape. I just have a good working knowledge of the software, and am willing to help in making some suggestions and knowing its functionality.
Very helpful. Thanks, Nancy, and thanks again, Amy, for the context. Not something to dive into today, but potentially an action item to help with gathering that data and to assess like what the platform looks like is to take lead on putting together like a focus group of some sort, or like some, maybe something less formal than a focus group, but of like our different nonprofit partners. I don't know what you all had thought about outside of that for assessing what the usability functionality is for Tennessee Stars, but a potential idea. It's in our notes and we can come back to this another time. If there are no more thoughts on annual plan, I will definitely review and have a little bit more to share and to help guide conversation next time we chat. Okay. Corporate social purpose then. So I met with Nancy and Andrea sometime in May. Kim is actually on that council representing the Tennessee Donors Forum. Yes. And so where to begin? So is everyone in the know on of our plan around corporate social purpose, Volunteer Tennessee's hope around corporate social purpose? And maybe the question is someone not aware?
I'm not really aware what you're doing.
Cool. Then where to begin? So Jim, Andrea, I believe this committee in some forms or fashion over the last like several years, specifically at the conference, have been figuring out ways to partner with and support businesses in that volunteer space and that corporate social responsibility space. Of course, we have the corporate social purpose track at the conference, which we canceled and kind of shifted into, I won't say canceled, but it was not what we have typically done, where we had like that traditional series of presentations like you had with the other tracks. What we did instead was have a meeting of the Corporate Social Purpose Founders Council, which I will give more information to. But in addition to that conference, having the Corporate Social Purpose track at the conference, Jim has been having conversations with different businesses, business leaders to identify, learn how can we support them. And what was learned is maybe a statewide network would be beneficial to these folks. Many times they are one-of-one team, if, and sometimes doing global efforts with just like maybe up to 3 people. So having support was shared as something that would be really awesome to hear from folks across the state, what the needs are, what they're doing, what their dollars are doing, where their dollars are going to, where they're sending their employees for volunteer activities, etc. Just having access to this information was shared as really beneficial to this group. So about last year, we started to have all these amazing conversations, including one with Kim, several conversations with Kim and other folks in this space on the business end, but also in that bridge builder connection type space, like folks like the Middle Tennessee Donors Forum. And what came out of that was not only do people want something like the Corporate Social Purpose Network, which would be to, do peer connections, connect people to different resources, potentially act as a space for coming together on a specific project to support Tennessee communities. Not only was that space, identified as a yay, but also how we could best build out this network is to have it built by folks from the community. So we, in these conversations, when we identified that, oh my gosh, this person would be awesome on this council, Founders Council, we would ask them to participate. And so now at this point, we have a council of about 12 folks it's Middle Tennessee heavy right now, but that is to be fairly expected because we do have a lot of big businesses in the Middle Tennessee area. But we have good representation from West Tennessee, 4 representatives there, 6 Middle Tennessee, including Predators, Rebecca King, who's the VP for their community relations, and also Deneen Tor, who's the VP for corporate social purpose. And we are slowly building out East Tennessee. What was recently noted at the last council meeting, which was technically like the first inaugural Founders Council meeting, but not because we've started meeting in December. But what was identified is that we should not try to recruit any other council members. And so something I shared recently with the newly appointed council chairs, which is Nikki Patrone, she's at Silvamo in West Tennessee, Memphis, and Wade Monday, who's at Bridgestone. He's the director of social impact and philanthropy at Bridgestone Arena in Middle Tennessee is where he's located. But what I recently shared with them is that we actually do need to continue to do a little bit of recruitment. We are a state agency, and we want to make sure that the room is filled with, as diverse of a group as possible. And we do not have a lot of East Tennessee people. We have currently 1 East Tennessee representative. Technically we have 2, but one of them is a commission member, which is Nathan Farner, who has been amazing. But we need to get some folks who are not commission members. So we're going to continue to try to recruit a couple of folks. I know I'm a little bit all over the place. The network, the goals are still being identified, whittled down. The general idea, though, is that peer support coming together to do like a group project. The current council makeup is for, to have corporations, 100 employees and above, about half of the group, and then smaller businesses, and then also, like I mentioned, bridge builders like Kim, the Middle Tennessee Donors Forum, folks who connect nonprofits to corporations. And we're about to start rolling back. So another thing that was identified at the last meeting was not only that we want less to tone down on bringing more members to the council, but also to have an executive committee. At the beginning, Jim and I were very much like, this is for you all, built by you all, tell us what to do, we will do what we need to support you. What we learned is that they would actually like a lot more guidance. And so we're doing that. And we were waiting for them, the group, to decide on governance structure. They went ahead, gave us the go ahead and said, hey, please put together an executive committee. We don't even want to vote on it. So that's what we did. We sent out a survey. People opted into these different officer roles, which is communications, recruitment, community engagement, finance. I will send a lot of information. I will include this in that OneDrive drop when I finally send this out. So don't think you have to memorize all of this information. But yeah, so that right now, the executive committee, we have confirmed a communications officer, a recruitment officer, a communications officer, community engagement officer, and a finance officer. And there is still an opening for a finance officer, a recruitment officer, which I'm hoping will be filled by someone from East Tennessee. But they were working to find a meeting for them. Please cut me off at any time if some of this information feels like I don't need this right now. I'm trying to get to the meat of it, but there is so much information that you all hope to share with you. So chairs locked in, executive committee, they will begin to do the work. Some of the projects that we've been working on, we have 2 awesome interns, Drew Patel and Nicolette Tolitano. They have been conducting interviews. I will share this document with you all. Kim is familiar with this, and I know that Nancy, I think that I might have shared the interview document with you, but we're conducting a series of interviews to learn from the CSR community, what their needs are, what their challenges are, what their pillars are, just to learn all the things that we can, so we can best assess what this network should look like. And we so far we're doing okay on interviews. The goal was to have 75 completed by the end of summer. We are not on track to meet that as yet, just based off of historically how we have been getting interviews, which right now I think we're at 7 confirmed interviews and talking it out with maybe about 5 people. So you can see that we're very far away. So our next ask to the council is going to be to please help us to continue to identify people that will participate, to like basically lock it in, like them send out the email. There's a template language. I could also send that to you all. Maybe that is something that this committee could opt into doing, is to helping us identify people for the to participate in that, which is like a 30-45 minute conversation. And really it's looked like more like 25-30 minutes, so we wouldn't be stealing too much of folks' time. I'm going to write that down really quick. Another project that we're working on is national best practices. So Kim was a part of these, and I think I might have referenced this to you, Nancy. Andrea has definitely been a part of some of these calls, that we are touching base with different folks, national best practices. We touch base with the Michigan Social Impact Network, got a lot of information from them. Atlanta. What we recently decided is to reach out to every single commission. And so they're working on that now. They've now touched base with all 50 commissions in total, to see who is working with who has a corporate social purpose network, who has anything like this, who has any type of, contact with their businesses. What does that look like? And so those are also conversations that are ongoing. So both of those two things, identifying what the needs are, challenges, et cetera, in Tennessee, and then learning from national folks. Those are the things that I think will best put us in the best place to succeed when the network does launch. Those are the two things that are going. And I think from that, what would be helpful, and I'm just throwing out things, please, say this is absolutely not our vibe. But if you all could help us identify the folks for those conducting interviews, and then if you actually do know someone that is not a part of a commission, because right now we're doing the commission work, but eventually we'll start to branch back out and start to look at other folks who are working with corporations in this type of volunteer space, being impact space.
So do you have a list of all the people who are participating that you could share with all of us, or people that you're pursuing, just so we get a gauge on where all that work is going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Latifah, the other thing I'd add is that there's a tremendous amount of interest in a statewide day of service or statewide single common project that can be implemented everywhere. That seems to be where the energy circles back to every time we talk.
Agreed. Kim is not sure if that's a real fire drill or not. So sorry, guys. I think there's something happening over here. But yes, Kim is exactly right. Everyone has been extremely excited about talking about this day of service, and something that Andrea, Nancy, and I talked about. I wonder if I should leave. Something that we've talked about is having this committee lead efforts for the corporate part of this, because if there were to be this large statewide day one, the commission should definitely talk about that, the larger commission, but maybe the strategic partnerships committee would touch base on the corporate sector, and then maybe another committee is working with like the education sector, et cetera. So it could potentially be this large day of service. But again, that feels like a really big thing for the larger commission to talk about. And so maybe that's separate. Maybe what happens first, okay, is that day of service that we're just like targeting corporate social purpose community.
Well, coming from the nonprofit world, days of service are often determined different times during the year of each company. So focusing on one day for a bunch of organizations is just not realistic. It's not. You may get some participation for sure, but I mean, Deloitte's got the only day of service they do. HCA, some of these other companies. So just think about that, because nonprofits may or may not have something sometimes, some part, time during the year, depending on what the day is and where it is in the school year and where it is in the, in the temperate weather. But also just a lot of corporations, if they do a day of service, they have, a day they determine. So it's just something to think about. I mean, maybe a month, a day, maybe you could do a month, and then there would be multiple options within the month. I mean, I'm not just trying to discourage you, but I'm just saying realistically, coming from somebody who works with corporate groups in terms of service, that can be a bit of a challenge. I love the idea of it. It's just letting you know.
Yeah, no, that's extremely helpful, Amy. I hadn't, and we actually did reference, I can't remember who brought this up, but the week of service. So again, I think that's something for the larger commission to talk about, but in this upcoming meeting, I realized that we are a minute over time. If you all could let me still just 2 more minutes. The next email that I send to you all will include several things, and so I apologize for that. I'll do my best to make it as tight as possible. But something I'm thinking is, one, I will share this template with you all. If you have the capacity and you know someone who would be willing to participate in the survey, please do send it out. It'll be really easy. It's literally, the template is there for you. There's like a little flyer. That would be my first ask to you all. And I need to review the annual plan. If once you all get the link, if you could also review the plan, have comments for it once we come together again. We'll also identify a September meeting date in this next email coming up. Lots of things to learn on my end. I appreciate you all being patient as I navigate the learning. Any thoughts, anything that you all need from me in the meantime? All the things, I'm sure.
I just think, Jim, if you could make that spreadsheet with the routine and state plan available to Latifa so that she could send it out to her team in advance of our meeting, it might be real helpful.
Yeah, well, she does have access to it. She's just having
Oh.
computer issues right now that prevents
Oh,
her from
okay.
getting to it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, that is all 100% me. And I will definitely, and that's something that will go on the OneDrive. So we'll all have access to it. We can do live updates and all that goodness. Okay, enjoy the rest of your Mondays. It's Monday. Enjoy the rest of your Mondays, and I will talk soon. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.